I am so excited about talking about this.
I just can't hide talking about this.
Let's do this thing, guys.
Boom.
Let's do it.
Welcome to episode 3 of Countdown to 5, but be not confused, this is episode 3, but it's really a sequel to the first episode, which was episode 2, actually. So what a coincidence that we're talking about a Ghostbusters sequel today, Ghostbusters 2, here in episode 3.
I don't know what you're saying.
Who cares? The point is, it's Countdown to 5,
Ghostbusters!
Welcome to Countdown to 5 Ghostbusters, sliming our way, like the rest of you, to the release of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm Paul Preston of themovieguys.net, and along the way, we're taking a look back at every film in the Ghostbusters franchise. Today, as I mentioned, is episode 3, so we're looking at Ghostbusters 2. Naturally, we looked at Ghostbusters 1, which wasn't really called Ghostbusters 1. This is Ghostbusters 2, though.
I don't know what you're saying.
That's enough of that. Wait, out there.
I have no idea. Hey, I'm Sean Blodgett of Creative Motion Entertainment. There we go.
I'm Justin Bowler of the world.
And we're all excited around here because the official trailer is out now. As of this taping, Sean, tell us about it.
Ah, right. The trailer. Yes, it's good. Hold on, wait a second.
No one is going to lie.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it. I could have done without that bumper at the end.
Didn't bother me. The fact that they didn't go all, that they didn't say, hey, remember this line? It was just him saying, yeah, because we were all already thinking it. No, I thought that was great. I appreciated every second of it. Ton of throwbacks in that. And on top of that, something which is interesting to me is we have yet to see ghosts of animals outside of whatever the F Slimer is.
Right,
I've never known what Slimer
No one
was.
knows it. It's like Goofy. No, no one. No,
Right.
Looks like a ghost, but was it that ever a person?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I hope not.
Right.
I
feel like it was. I feel like at some point Slimer was a person that had legs,
Yeah.
and maybe a bigger person, but yeah, I think Slimer was a person.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe ran with the circus or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
I mean, yeah.
But we clearly see ghosts that are also animals that
Right.
are in this, which
Right.
is totally new.
Right.
And we got a couple of throwbacks in there. We got Slimer. We got Stay Puffed in there. There's the shot in the library, very reminiscent of our opening scene.
It's like the library.
I was
ghost.
just gonna say, is the librarian in there? That's
Looks
the
like it.
librarian, right?
Yeah. Updated
And is
version, yeah.
Peck the mayor? He looks like he's got quite an office, so I'm curious to think.
That's
He's got
interesting.
he's got a nice office. It looks like he's pulled them in to
That's right.
admonish them.
Oh, that's
because they probably did something that
That's a good
maybe
point.
has more power now.
Because if I know anything, Joe versus the volcano taught me what the EPA looks like, and it's just a bunch of fluorescent lights above you. It's not a nice office with a great view, so he's got to be the mayor, right? He can't be, even if he's in charge of the EPA, they're underground. They're not above.
Right.
That makes sense if you think about it. So, I mean, scary though, right? I mean, definitely it's like a scary action. It kind of got me thinking though, like, is that where this franchise is headed with this more like kind of action adventure kind of feel? Because I don't really feel like the original 2 Ghostbusters movies were action adventure, even though they had those elements.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like they're comedies,
But comedy horror.
yeah, comedy horror. I think that's definitely true, especially for. Well, I mean, I guess they're kind of even in many senses. The first 2, in terms of that level. But yeah,
I don't know. I thought Ghostbusters 2, before we dive into it too much, I thought it was much more comedy than the first one. I thought there was more focus on the comedy in Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, that's interesting.
Also, by the way, I have not watched Ghostbusters 2 since last millennium. Okay? It's been that long.
Wow.
There were parts of this where I just went, I forgot this part exists. And lines that I loved, which I had forgotten existed.
Oh.
Do, re, egon.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I forgot this was a thing. So many, there were things in there. It made me so happy. Yes. But it's been a long time since I've seen the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it focused more on comedy. I'm sorry, didn't mean to derail.
No, there's nothing. I don't have anything.
We're talking
planned.
about
Actually, because I think the real Ghostbusters animated show lent itself to more action and darker ghosts.
Definitely.
And so it was interesting to see then Ghostbusters 2 go more family friendly, but now it seems like they're circling back to maybe do the darker real Ghostbusters vibe to the films.
I do agree with that. This is very like we've got kids, we've got classics, but there's this, larger storyline, second ice age of this is all going to happen. It feels very much like live action, the real Ghostbusters.
And I can't remember if you brought this up in one of our first shows, but it looks like there might be death. Now, was there ever death or just ghosts scaring people?
Well, we certainly never see anybody actually die.
No.
Like people, I feel like people could have died, but we don't see anybody actually die.
But a frozen guy who then shatters into pieces, you're like, okay, there's death on the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
From a ghost.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
It
it
just
was
raises the
nice.
stakes.
Can I just say real quick, it was super nice to watch that trailer with you guys because this is why going to the movies is really important, everybody, because having a communal experience and us laughing, like we laughed at the Paul Rudd bit, and it was like, yes, because that's what you do with other people,
Right. Yeah. This would have been much less fun if I was just, some random guy in a closet watching it on my phone. I don't know why I'd be in a closet. That's where I watch all my stuff on my phone. I sit in the closet.
Honey, I'll be in the closet for a little while. It's not a... Never mind.
New Dune trailer, you get it. I need to be alone.
The other thing, too, is like, it looks so beautiful. I think movies now, they look so beautiful, and so much of that is because of where we are with CG
what we can
technology,
make things look
what you can do with things like Unreal Engine and Blender and things like that, like creating these worlds and these environments. I'm starting to do a little bit of a deep dive into some of these things, just looking at it and stuff, and you're like, I can't believe the level with which you can world build in these things, and you're creating everything. I mean, even like, they have these examples like of like car commercials and stuff we're watching, and you're like, oh, that's the car like driving on the. No, it's not. That's all done in a computer. Wow. They didn't shoot that. Yeah. You're like, why does that look so great? Because it's just clean in a computer. They had control over everything.
So our backgrounds from now on should be sets from the movies that we're talking about. That's a great idea. Can you get on that?
Let's give Sean more posts.
Yeah, please. No, but I was when I saw that the trailer. I guess this is the newer trailer, right?
This is what they're calling the official trailer.
The official trailer. So when that dropped, and then of course seeing Walter Peck.
Come on.
You're like,
come on.
Because we were just talking about him in the last one, like that he had this whole like people calling him dickless, like in real life and stuff. And you're like, oh, this poor guy, and now he's back playing that role. And that joke's got to be in there somewhere.
But so great, right?
Yeah.
So great. Like instantly you're like, oh my gosh, they're facing this jackass again. Yes.
And I'll take all that if the villain is different, and he'll probably be a villain, but we have a new ghost. So the new ghost means new things, and then we can have fun within that with all the stuff that we've seen before, including Slimer.
Right.
I think it's funny that they think the horny joke is funny enough to put at the head and the tail of the trailer.
The trailer for the trailer is the most annoying thing in the world. When they show you 5 clips, here comes the trailer. Here's 3 lines from it.
Yeah.
I clicked on it.
to watch the trailer.
Stop at the trailer.
I'm about to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so over at the movie, guys, we did that, I think, for an older movie. I can't remember what, but it was like, here's the trailer for the trailer for the trailer. And then we went like 5 deep. It was like one word, and then, but it's just annoying.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it just looks so great. It looks fun. They haven't showed a lot with the kids, especially the girl who was really the main character, I think, in the Afterlife one.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what her storyline's going to be and where that's going to go, and why are they in New York? Also, we don't know that because they ended in where was it?
They're in the Midwest. Yeah, but
Tehachapi.
But it's in California. But they had Zeddemore opening back up the fire hall.
Yeah.
But how they end up there, I don't know. Probably Gruberson just gets too antsy and he wants to fight ghosts.
Here's my question: is Rick Moranis in this movie?
Oh my God! You read my mind. I was just about to say that same. Go.
Because also, once again, going back to Ghostbusters 2, we'll talk more about this in a minute. I did not remember that Lewis ever put on the suit. I didn't remember, and the proton, that didn't recall that at all. It's just a bit, which is a great bit, and we'll talk about the brilliance of Rick Moranis later, but does he return? Are we going to see him in this? He's coming back, he's slowly coming back to Hollywood on his own terms and all that jazz. So.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
Did a commercial.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
I wasn't aware of that.
He's also returning to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, is
he's
he?
playing, Zach, not Zach, Josh Gad is his grown-up son who shrinks his kids. So he's the grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which will be great, which will be fantastic. So no, he's coming back. So yeah. I mean, will we see Lewis in this? I don't know.
I'm going to just jump in. I mean, I hope we do. And I'm just going to jump in real quick. And since you brought it up, for me, Ghostbusters 2, best performance, Rick Moranis.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Yep. He was to me, that was on my notes. I was like, he, out of all of them, was firing on all cylinders. Everything he does is hilarious. And what really stood out to me was when I started watching behind the scenes stuff, and you see how different he is, and because he's acting a role.
Right.
And you see that he's just this calm, cool, collected kind of guy and whatever. And,
right.
and he's and then he does this crazy character.
Yeah.
And he nails every moment. Now,
yeah.
Granted, it's a broad character.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there to commit to. But he doesn't shy away from it. And it's awesome.
It's always honest.
Yes, it's always honest. And I believe it. And it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's one of those characters where you could be like, this is over the top. I don't buy it. I think it's a bunch of, it's okay. I totally bought it, and I was like, wow, he is really, really funny. And I say that partially, too, because for me, there's a lot in this movie that doesn't work. And he was one of the elements that absolutely did.
I wouldn't say there's stuff in here that doesn't work. What I will say, there's stuff that is just like they took a chance, and surprising that they went in that direction. And also, once again, coming back to it new, I was like, totally forgot they did this. Totally forgot they went in this direction. That's why I said it seemed to me here they leaned heavily into the comedy more so than into the reality of the world that they had set in the first one. Mm-hmm. Going back to Rick Moranis, there is a moment for me that was one of the biggest laugh out loud moments in this film watching it, and it's his. And all it is his reaction when he thinks he has stopped it all by using the proton.
Oh, yes.
And
the
audience, it's before the audience even cheers. He just has this, it explodes, and he has just this look of accomplishment and joy that is just unbelievable. Like, it is so, like, you want to talk about someone who is 100%, the actor is 100% truthfully telling the story that he is living. It is so great.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Well, listen, you've started to give us some of the plot points. First of all, I can't go that far with Moranis. If I had to give MVP in the movie, it's Peter McNichol. But that's a great argument to have. You both win.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I like him, but maybe I just don't like the character.
Oh, see?
What
the character does? I don't. Yeah, Janusz.
I mean, there's stuff that he does that's really funny.
It is.
Like there's the Janusz kind of, I mean, it's
If he were here right now, he'd say everything you're doing is bad.
Right. He is so.
Stop doing.
It's such an outlandish character that once again he is playing to his reality 100%. And I will tell you this because I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I'm thinking, could you get away with this today? And you could, because right up to the point where he's so crazy, it's like, who are you making fun of? They say, where are you from? And he says, Upper West Side.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You know what? All right, I'm gonna relent on that one. I stand corrected, but I still say Rick Moranis was
But we've talked about some plot points. Ghostbusters 2, of course, one of the top 10 grossing films of 1989. And in the interest of showing you something different every show, I'd like to play a clip of an interview I did at themovieguys.net with Robin Shelby. Robin played Slimer in this film. For part of the visual effects of the film, they needed someone in a suit. So this was a cool combination of visual and the special effects, and those are the same thing. You know what I mean? But they don't know how often they had someone in a suit. She was that, and she's got stories. So let's switch things up for a minute and hear from her about making the film. Do you get any FaceTime with the stars, or do you just get FaceTime with, like, effects guys and I'm sure you're pretty excited at 19 to see a star. Effects guys are cool and all, but, I mean, did you get to see any of the legends?
Well, when I was shooting, it was me and ILM, the special effects guys, who were brilliant, by the way, in front of a blue screen. And so technically, everything had already been shot with the principal actors when I got there. And they took what we did and added it to the principal photography. But we did have a day where they were doing some looping, and Bill Murray showed up. And Bill Murray was just random and is funny, and really he was amazing. I had a blast with him that day. And at the end of the day, he brought in music and drinks and turned the whole soundstage into a party. It was great. It was like a Friday, so it was a perfect, hey, let's just kind of blow up Little Steve and have some fun. So he did. And that's why I got to meet. He's the first cast member that I actually met. But since then, I've done some conventions, and I've become, close friends with a few of the other cast members just from working with them on other things. And I'm so blessed. Like, everyone that I've met in the franchise is seriously as wonderful as I would hope they would be. So it's always nice to meet somebody that you respect, you like their work, and they're as nice as you wanted them to be.
I'm just sad she didn't tell us what Slimer was.
Yeah. Do you think as an actor she wrote a bio,
She lived as Slimer on a Thursday, going to the store, getting groceries.
Robin, we need you to reshoot this. You will call me Slimer on the set.
And no one's allowed to look me in the eye.
Slimer is actually Slimir. Born in year 1. Burned at the stake. Legs chopped off, which is why he's...
It was a person.
We're just seeing a torso is all we're seeing.
Yeah.
I wonder he's angry. So anyway, more clips like that, including ones with William Bryan and Ray Parker Jr., you can find at themovieguys.net. So there's all sorts of Ghostbusters stuff over there. So let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Ghostbusters 2 comes out in 1989, as I mentioned. June 16th, stacked summer.
Right.
1989 summer was crazy. In fact, they had a date. Batman comes in. They move a week earlier.
Oh, wow.
I mean, every week there was something. They had Lethal Weapon 2. They had Parenthood, Batman, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Like, they just were all
my
jockeying
God,
for
that was a
position.
great summer.
That was a fantastic summer. And also, Rick Moranis playing vastly different character in Parenthood while playing Lewis at the same time, in the box office at the same time.
Yeah. And speaking of the box office, $30 to $40 million budget. And looking like it does, crazy. $215 million at the box office. It's 112 domestic, 102 internationally. And as I mentioned, it was in the top 10, number 7 movie of the year. Although some numbers here might put it at 8, but that's domestically and worldwide somehow. Despite only 1 week at number 1, because like I said, Batman comes in, knocks it out, and it sticks around.
The hype around Batman.
Kid 3, and you had Star Trek 5, which was terrible, but was in there, drawing people. So, yeah, they had to, do a lot of quick maneuvering to make sure everything that was huge that summer was always playing somewhere. And again, making room 1 week to the next for the next big thing.
Wow.
One thing that came up in the research of the behind the scenes was that a lot of these guys, Bill Murray, not Ivan, right?
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. All of them from different movies that they did had been asked by studios or whatever, will you please do a sequel of whatever?
Right.
Caddyshack, Stripes, blah, 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 whatever. All these great films that we love.
Dragnet.
Yeah. That one's... but I thought it was interesting that came up, and for them, most of those movies, they're like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Right.
But this one they did.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just thought that was
them and everybody else. 1989 is the year they finally had more sequels released than any other year previously. So it was like
that's
a big
interesting.
sequel summer.
They
I think License to
Studios
Kill,
finally
of course,
buying into it. Yeah.
they count that. Yeah.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Was this the time that studios, two things, were starting to shift into this idea of, wait a second, we have this idea for this movie, and then we made that movie.
Yeah.
That's an IP.
Yeah.
So we could take this and make this a franchise, right? So we could make multiple motion pictures that feature... was this the beginning of that? I mean, I know that Star Wars... Was that really the first...
Well, that was kind of planned, so it's tough to think about. We made one. Can we just make another? Maybe that's Beverly Hills Cop.
James Bond has been around for forever.
Okay, James Bond, right, of course. Yeah.
The Broccoli's viewed it differently, but back then, the studios, the thinking was, why do we make a sequel? Because they can watch the original one on TV, on Channel 4 or on Channel 13 from time to time. They're not going to come out. They're not going to see this film. And also, by this time, cable was now a thing.
Right.
They can see it for free.
Right.
You don't need to make another one. But, that was also a time of disregarding disregarding obviously a very different viewpoint of today, disregarding all the money that they could be making at a
because this was also right before, because I think it was the 90s when the studios made the shift into being bought by corporations, and then that really doubled down on the concept of franchises.
You have to make money. Yeah.
So because I think before then it was the movie business was actually
about
movies. Yeah, it was really about that, right? And it was like you had a good idea, and there was a different level of, I feel like, I don't know, respect or whatever for the artists involved. Right. Everybody from the writers to direct. Yes. It was just a different time. Whereas now it seems more now corporatized and
money driven, commercial. Whereas they talk about the argument along those lines with what you're saying is that the 70s was literally the greatest decade that we've had of motion pictures. The best films were made during the 70s because they let the artists, the auteurs, do what they did.
Tack onto that, they were also the most popular movies. The top 10 movies of the year of the decade in the 70s were like Godfather, Rocky, Empire Strikes Back, like good movies. Were also the popular movies.
Yes.
That disparity is crazy now. Which Transformers movie is in the top 20 of all time? It's like the fourth one.
Are we saying then that the 70s movies bled into the 80s? Is that what that is?
I think we still had great movies at the beginning of the 80s. That's why we had these things and people are willing to do it. But then exactly what you said, once those corporations came in, it was all money driven. It was like, wait, we're leaving money at the box office. We should be raking this in.
Well, it's never more apparent than during the strike, because I lost all respect for CEOs of these companies during the strike. 100% zero respect now. They're basically out to make money for their shareholders. Who should be running a studio? Martin Scorsese. Steven Spielberg, he tried with DreamWorks, but they couldn't quite keep it going to the level they did. There's portions of it out there, but like filmmakers should be running film studios. The fact that it's these doofuses who are just corporate shills, it's such a shame. Yeah, it's
well, I think part of it too is because it's just become, when you start referring to a movie as an IP
or content.
Yeah, or content.
That's the worst.
Right? Yeah. I mean, because it distances your connection to it, I think. And that anyway, kind of digressed, but yeah.
I'm all about digression.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
But I did go out to see this one that summer, so I saw it in the theater. One of the more recent times I saw it was also in the theater at the ArcLight, rest in peace. The ArcLight Pasadena showed it, so it was good to see it with a crowd again, to your point of that's the best way to see it.
Yep.
And I still saw its flaws, which we'll talk about, but some of the jokes landed better than the previous viewing. So, but for me, it's starting with the heroes in a really low place. I find that really tough. This was Ramis's idea, apparently. You could look at a movie like The Empire Strikes Back, or for me, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The heroes are starting in a bad place, but it still makes for a pretty fascinating movie.
Right.
But it's not always hit. Like, was Superman ever worth anything in like Man of Steel or like Batman versus Superman? He was like a loser. Everybody hated him. They thought he was an alien. I mean, what are we doing? It's hard to like, but I mean, even after did he even win anything? But the fact that the Ghostbusters won and we're coming back and they're like losers, I was like, oh man, that is a tough climb to get out of. And Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2, he's still a mall cop? He saved it. Anyway, that's
the real injustice.
That's the real injustice.
Right. Wait for Countdown to 3, which is Paul Blart Mall Cop Part 3, I don't know. And we'll be watching those movies.
It's a prequel.
Mall attendant instead of mall cop.
He starts out as a security guard at the Tower Records.
But it is interesting coming back to, okay, where do we start this movie? We start this movie, they're doing children's parties because they can't do anything else. They're not allowed to, right? They've been shut down, which also, should I launch into music? Well, it's interesting because this movie starts out with them doing children's parties and such, right? Okay, I want you to think about songs from movies that explain the movie. There are very few of them. In fact, this is the only one I could really think about. Let's talk about Back to the Future.
If there's something strange in the neighborhood,
okay, but
who are you going to call?
Does even that tells you Yeah, okay.
Right.
This is what's generally going on. It doesn't tell you plot by plot what is happening, right? You go to Back to the Future, and it's like, oh, Power of Love really doesn't mention anything. Back in time, tell me, Doctor, where are we going this time? Okay, we got a couple, get back, Marty. We got a couple of references to the movies.
Right.
This one, Bobby Brown's song, which went to number 2 on the charts, On Our Own. This is the rap that takes place in the middle of it, okay? Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. Call the Ghostbusters and they're in control. Had them throwing a party for a bunch of children. All the while, the slime was under the building, so they packed up their group, got a grip, came equipped, grabbed their proton packs off their back, and they split. Found out about Vigo, the master of evil.
Wow.
Trying to battle my boys. That's
Wait, is that
legal.
really in
Yes,
the movie?
That's it. It's a rap interlude, which on the video
I mean,
is
I
the
remember.
first thing you hear.
Like, I know it's in there, but I didn't. That does. Whoa.
Oh yeah,
Right?
That's like putting a Weird Al spoof of Phantom Menace in the end credits of Phantom Menace.
Right.
That's really
It is-
funny.
it's absurd. Like, you listen to this. This is a song that went to number 2 for Bobby Brown, by the way.
Wow.
Number 2 on the charts, where they literally just, oh yeah, what's it about? Well, okay, that's what it's about. I'll just wrap it in this rap right here, which was
You
fantastic.
want to sum up the feeling of being a ghost? No, I got
no.
the story. You guys wrote the story, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, give me a synopsis of the story. Oh yeah, put it to rhyme. It's great. You're gonna love it. That went to number 2. They also redid the Ghostbusters theme song with Run DMC.
Yeah.
Totally different. Which, as you listen to now, it's like, that's not a bad song.
Oh,
It's pretty
DMC is good.
Yeah, DMC is great. And that did not chart at all.
Nope.
Bobby Brown, when they asked him to do the song, said only if I get a cameo in it, and that's how we got into the movie.
Oh, I love
As the
that.
doorman.
I love that.
kinda
That's
funny.
great. I love that he wanted a cameo that bad. Come on, that's awesome.
And then the video for On Our Own was, I mean, it's chock full. It's Jane Curtis, Victoria Jackson, Sally Kirkland, Rick Moranis, the Ramones, Christopher
my
Reeves,
gosh.
Laurie Singer. I mean, it goes on and on.
I mean, again, it goes back to what we talked about in the last episode, hype.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You get to be
absolutely.
a part of the hype because you're like, I can only see this in the movie theater. Like, oh, music video's on.
Right.
Oh my God, these other people are. What is it? Crazy.
150%. I remember tuning in for the world premiere on MTV for not only this song but also the Run DMC Ghostbusters.
Wow.
And it was a big deal to watch us. It's like, had my VCR ready. I'm ready to press record as soon as the world premiere pops up. I will say this. There's something funny which I never realized. The song Flesh and Blood by Oingo Boingo, which I've always loved, was on that soundtrack. And Danny Elfman is very angry about it because he wrote this song and they used 4 bars from the song in the movie, and that's it. And he said, if I'd have known that, I never would have written a song for him. He's like, we're on the soundtrack. That's it. Crazy time. Crazy.
Well, since we're still on music,
Yeah.
it's interesting you bring up the music because one of the things that I think missed the mark in this film is the score.
Yes.
So I was watching the movie and I'm like, what is different? What is going on? Like, it sounds kind of like the same score, but it's not, right? I mean, this can't be the same. And it's not the same composer.
Nope.
It's a different composer. And obviously trying to sort of mimic what was there. But there's some stuff that also just sounds kind of like 80s goofy. Like, well, let's use a keyboard with the, weird sounds. And it just, it feels disconnected and out of place. And I think, for me, that's a lot of what hurt this movie for me.
Yeah.
I think that, music is powerful enough, especially a score in a film. I mean, now there's so much scored in films. There's always some sort of tone or something happening underneath. But even then, it's like there's these little moments, and it's like, yeah, that's just not quite. I get where you're going,
Right.
and good job. It's just not quite there. So I don't know, but that really stood out to me.
Yeah. To that point, the score was not released as an album until like 2020 or 2019.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
only a couple of years ago that was finally released.
Wow.
So I mean that tells you something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Randy Edelman? Is that who did it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he was quoted as saying that he didn't bring any themes to the characters because we all knew who they were already, so he didn't bring any like which Elmer Bernstein brought
Right,
all
yes,
these
right.
characters.
Yeah.
So I think he just focused on the action adventure type music,
Right.
and then was missing what you're clearly, I think, we're missing.
Yeah.
Well, but even like the romance moments and I just felt like there were just it was, the intention was there.
Yeah.
I get what the emotional tone he was trying to create, but I think it missed. I think it missed the mark, and I wonder what is the reason that they couldn't have reused some of. I guess they did reuse some of the score, but not much. I don't know, because they didn't have that moment. The bum ba dum ba dum bum. Yeah, which I love. I mean, it's very Stripes, but but I think we could have used some of that in this movie. So anyway, that's my point about the music. But also jumping back to your comment about starting out with the characters in a terrible place. I want to say real quick, that is a part I actually really enjoyed in terms of just storytelling. I think this movie took some risks in the beginning.
Definitely.
For me, this script sort of felt like, hey, here's the ideas. And like, oh, great. And you get to about Act 2, which is when writing gets hard. and you go, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And then it shifts into, oh, we're making Ghostbusters. Right. So let's just take that storyline and let's just apply it here with what's happening. Great. Good idea. Let's go.
Yeah.
That was it.
Their goal was to make the slime be the manifestation of negative energy in the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that apparently wasn't coming across, so they did some reshoots, and so it probably got overly complicated with explanations and things to make it
that's
seem
interesting.
more like people could follow it.
Yeah.
It probably could have been just much simpler. You know,
Yeah.
and what I think they lost in the reshoots was comedy. Like, remember the whole scene where like they're developing the film in the dark room, and it
Yes.
suddenly catches on fire, and they put the fire out, and they cut away. I'm like, can we get a joke? Like before we cut away? Like, I get there's danger,
Right.
but there was always danger and a joke, you know, in the past. So that I thought was missing a lot here. Danger. Also, give us a joke.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I in general, I would have liked to have seen them give Winston more comedy.
Yeah.
You know, he comes in and saves the day. Give him the joke.
Although
You know, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
they did give him, he's the one who got the big slime from the train.
Well, he gets the train moment, and he does a great job with it, and he's super funny.
Yeah.
Still think his character gets played down a little too much
agree.
at times.
Now that he is an equal part, I do agree. He
Yeah.
should have been more a part of this movie.
Yeah.
I do agree to. I'll
Yeah, I mean,
agree to
because he can't, you know, storyline wise, he came in looking for a job in the first movie, and you know, I get that he's extra, you know, like he's there, he's the extra character, and he's adding to this, and okay, and
Right.
kind of adding to that reality. Love that. But now he's been with these guys.
Yeah.
Now they've been in the trenches. I mean, he's doing kids parties with them.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he still believes in these guys on some level. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen them use him a little bit better.
Yeah.
He's a fan favorite. When I saw Ghostbusters the last time in the theater, when his first shot of him, when he's got the little wanted ad and he's looking up at the Ghostbusters, place went nuts. Got the biggest applause for his cameo in the 2016 Ghostbusters than anyone else. The screening that I saw, you know, so people, he's a fan favorite. Definitely.
I didn't know it was
think-
going to be the 2016 one. Damn it! See, I should have seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either. Yep.
Well, you're going to get a huge applause. So, but the story almost didn't happen the way that it was. Here's some early versions of the script. Dana is kidnapped and taken to Scotland, where she discovers a fairy ring, an arc of mushrooms linked to fairies or witches. The Ghostbusters would have had to travel through a pneumatic tube underground to visit and quell the fairy ring.
Interesting.
I like them leaving
And
New York.
terrible.
Well, they still went underground. That's what they wanted. to do.
Okay, all right.
We went into New York City's version of a pneumatic tube.
Yes.
I like them leaving New York. Maybe not after this. Maybe still stay in New York for the second movie. But then I think, again, we've discussed that the options are endless for other cities where there are ghosts.
Yeah, also, though, remember at the time, it's just like, once again, we're going back to this of like, sequels weren't really much of a thing. You know,
Right, yep,
They
yep.
they didn't know how that. They didn't know how sequels suffer. They didn't know the pitfalls. They're kind of making it up as they. I mean, they literally were making it up as they go along.
And they're probably kind of a joke because you got Beverly Hills Cop 2, or you've got Temple of Doom, or something like that, where you can go, oh, sweet, look at this, and you got Aliens.
Yeah.
But then you also have a ton of other dog crap movies.
Yeah.
Just terrible stuff.
So
Like
it's like-
Mannequin 2. Are they all Mannequin 2 on
No,
the
that
list?
one was great.
Oh, okay.
Look for Countdown to 3. Okay, never seen. You did that joke. Right?
Yeah, but what I was saying is,
that's how the interruption goes. Got it.
in making it up as they go along. You know, I mean, there were straight up just bits in this, of just like, hey, let's throw in a sketch here. They're digging in the street. All right, hey, okay, Venkman now is gonna. I'm a tough New Yorker. What you gonna tell me I can't? What are you talking? All that stuff.
Yeah.
Just straight up bits, as opposed to the first one didn't have time for bits. It was living the reality, having characters deal with this outrageousness in the moment, and that's funny. You can say funny things there,
That's interesting. That's an interesting argument.
They didn't know what they were doing, so you got to give them a lot of leeway on this.
I think Ivan Reitman, in the behind-the-scenes stuff I watched, definitely gave them that leeway. All of these folks from, Second City, they're all very much about like making each other look good, setting each other up for bits, and that kind of stuff. And I think they had a tendency from what I saw that, they had the script, but that was a blueprint.
Yeah.
And even Rick Moranis in his interview says it was a blueprint. We would show up and then we would kind of work on it and hey, you got this. And people were coming up with lines for each other and stuff like that, which I also think, though, is maybe why it suffered a little bit, because there were bits and there were things. One scene that stood out for me in particular that I was like, you could have cut this. This scene could have just absolutely gone. And it's the scene where they're walking out of the apartment building to go on the date, and the guys have just come from being slimed and all that stuff, and they come running up, and it's this whole back and forth, and it goes on way too long.
We've got guys that are covered in stuff that go into the restaurant.
No, that's the next. That's later on, but it's before. No, I'm sorry, it's before they go into the thing. Hey, we found this. It's after they go in they get caught in the fire.
Okay,
right, and they're and he's supposed to go on the date with Sigourney Weaver and whatever, and they're like, hey, we found this thing. We're gonna go down to the slime. You want to come? And then he turns to Sigourney Weaver like, hey, the guys found it. And it's just this whole long moment that ends with him saying this thing to Sigourney Weaver, and she walks away and goes, taxi, and she's trying to, and even she's trying to play this bit, and it's like, this could have, you could have cut from them in the fire thing straight to them going down into the slime.
Oh,
that's exactly where that cut would have been. You're like, well, do we lose anything? Do we miss anything? And I don't think so. We knew we were going to go. We knew they were going out on the date. We've already set that up.
Right.
We could be right at the restaurant. There's no reason that scene needs to be in there.
I would argue that they got themselves into a fix by, again, starting from a bad place with their relationship. Like, so just the fact, hey, let's choose that in the 5 years between movies, Dana met someone else and had a kid with him, and those two have broken up. I'm like, well, can't they just be happy and maybe make it their kid or something? And there's all sorts of things they could have done that just would have been easier and more likable.
Right.
And moments like that could have just been handled, and we move on.
Simple
instead
rule
of
improv at the beginning of the scene.
Well,
Start
and
positive. Start positive. Let it deteriorate. Start positive and let it go downhill. So
I agree. Yeah,
something to solve.
Yeah, you can start positive, deliver another danger, they lose, and they got to win again.
They got to win again.
Instead of
Absolutely.
just starting from the beginning.
Side note, who did you think she married? I assumed it was
The Stiff?
The Stiff.
Yeah, it was the guy. Yeah. The other guy in the orchestra, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's all
I
weird.
think even as a kid, I was confused. I thought that was his baby.
So
I thought there was a moment where we find out that was his, and I was like, no, I guess that doesn't happen, and I'm remembering it not correctly. But I totally, I feel like they should have done that storyline, that even it could have been a reveal, right? Yeah. That actually, I just didn't think he'd be a good father, but I can see, you know what I mean? So I went with this guy, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's no reason for it not to be, but also on top of that, okay, experience of me watching it after not watching it in decades.
Right.
I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot about this. They have a kid. That's what I thought 3 nights ago when I watched this thing, and I went, oh, wait, nope, not his. Okay, all right, what? Oh, wow. This was a whole new movie for me, guys. It really was.
Yeah, why don't we just have, and Zedamore's homeless. Right. Take it easy. Never a good sign when filming was rushed. 5 months as opposed to 13. And then that's when they brought in some
that
reshoots.
Definitely had to be part of it, especially if your process is, well, the script is a guideline.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, these guys had to be coaxed back into working together. Not that they hated each other, but Reitman, Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis had to give the go-ahead for the sequel, I guess, on paper, too, for it to even happen.
Right.
Interesting.
And Murray got into his whole thing with the Razor's Edge, and he felt toxic after that didn't do anything for him after Ghostbusters was the biggest hit ever. So he was 4 years in limbo, as you know, and didn't come back until Scrooged. And so they were working on a screenplay Couldn't get Murray. Finally is making Scrooged. And they say, good, after Scrooged, we can make Ghostbusters 2, but the script wasn't ready. I'm like, you had 5 years.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the beginning of this where eventually Jimmy's in Beverly Hills. Do you know this place? This restaurant? I've never heard of it. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. Michael Ovitz arranged a meeting for all of them to get back together, and they all got together, and they had a great time and said, this will be fun to make this movie. So maybe that led to, well, let's not even have a script. So,
You know what? Let's not.
so much fun.
Speaking of script, one more thing.
Yeah.
The scene, you can see this deterioration, at least in my mind, where it starts to be shifting more into like, well, we're retelling basically Ghostbusters again, right? We're putting we have this kind of story, but basically we're having these same beats, right?
Yeah.
The scene with the mayor is almost the same dialogue. If you go in and you watch it, you're like, this is almost
Interesting.
exactly
So
what
interesting.
happens. Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's stuff like that where it really went downhill. I still say I liked in some ways that they started the characters in a weird sort of place, and kind of struggling and trying to find. I don't know that I like the idea that Ghostbusters itself died away. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to whatever, but maybe that makes sense, right? If you really think about it, like they killed, they got rid of what was it? Who's the bad guy in the first one?
Gozer.
They get rid of Gozer, right? And Gozer is the reason there's all these ghosts coming up, right? Why is everything so busy?
So there's
right?
literally
so
nothing
there's
for
literally
them to
nothing
do.
else for them to do.
Yeah.
So they have to, go and find other work. So I kind of get that. And that, to me, that's the original stuff that I sort of like, even though it's not always very funny in the script.
Right.
But then as we move forward, it just starts to fall into these same beats and
Right.
then, with the exception of, like I said, I love the Rick Moranis stuff. He's just so hilarious.
Yeah, but can you imagine it with new actors? I mean, that's what David Putnam almost did as the head of Columbia. He didn't like Bill Murray.
I did. Wow.
And he wanted to work on smaller films, so he didn't want to greenlight a big budget sequel.
And he was going to put in Daryl Hannah.
So he almost put in somebody else, other lower salaried actors. I mean, that just would have been terrible. But you talk about the mayor scene. Now, as a guy who loves movie locations, go to the LAFilmLocationsTour.com to book your movie guy's LA Film Locations Tour. But Greystone Mansion, where they filmed a ton of movies in Beverly Hills, was the mayor's office. So even though they shoot a lot in New York, that's where they filmed that scene. And Fire Station number 23, which is downtown, is still the interiors of the fire hall, although the famous exterior of the fire hall, of course, is in New York.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Didn't know the
for
interiors
1 and
were
2.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
but don't go down there. It's last I looked, it was very Skid Row adjacent.
Okay.
Gotcha. I was
I was surprised at how much was shot here for this one.
Yeah. They went back to the Biltmore, which was the scene of Slimer's,
Yeah.
the Sedgwick in the
Sedgwick.
first movie, and that's where they filmed like the lady with the mink stole that
Yes.
comes alive,
Yep.
and some other scenes like that down there. Oh, and then the fireplace. Also, the third floor of the fire hall is where they filmed the birthday party.
Oh, really?
Which the
that's
kid,
cool.
Which
That's
the
cool.
kid says that you guys are full of crap or whatever. That's Jason Reitman. So a little
Yeah.
trivia for you. But as far as all the effects go, ILM is involved now. Richard Edlund is out. Dennis Murin is in. 180 effect shots. They were hired for 110 because they're also working on Last Crusade, Back to the Future 2, The Abyss, and and this is also hilarious. Effects were eventually jobbed out to 4 other studios.
Wow.
Again, because you've seen these credits at the end of a
Yep.
Marvel
Yeah.
movie. It's like 90 effects houses, and all their names and 400 people's names go by. But still, with 4 houses, they got it done in time.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, maybe it helps that the Vigo painting is a photograph. They didn't even have to paint that, so they just blew it up and made it look like a painting.
So what do you think about the Vigo stuff? Because I don't know.
I look at that Vigo painting, and the first thing I thought, hey, it's the Steward of Gondor from Lord of the Rings. He really does look. What's that actor's name? John something.
I ain't the one.
He looks a lot like him. He's like, oh, he's the Mad Steward. Okay.
I ain't doing Countdown to 7 or whatever we're on. What are we on with us? We got the TV show?
If we remove Vigo, we lose Peter McNichol.
Right.
And Peter McNichol is a lot of the comedy in this thing. Just listening to him talk,
Yeah.
with whatever
Yeah.
accent he's doing, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think there was some complications in how Vigo was controlling the ghosts rising and all this stuff, so they did reshoots and tried to over-explain it all.
Right.
So it's complicated, and it shouldn't have to be. And he's not interesting enough, I think, in the long run, as the demon dogs and the arrival of Gozer eventually.
Well, there's also less mystery there. First one is just like, okay, we got these dogs. What's gonna happen? We're slowly revealed about this. Whereas right off the bat, it's like, oh, there's a guy in the painting, the floating head, talking to Peter McNichol. I mean, it's all early on of like, okay, here, this is where we're going. All right, I guess we just go along for the ride. I get that. But once again, they're laying new track. There's no, sequels. They didn't know how to make them back then.
Would you guys, just in an alternate universe, want to see Ghostbusters now be just more of a action adventure?
No.
Why?
I got to have the comedy.
Well, yeah.
That's what I've always...
Right.
The thing that was magical about Ghostbusters' original script and what makes it one of my top 3 comedies ever is they just didn't let a moment go by. I remember going to see Evan Almighty, the premiere at Universal, and Adam Witt, fellow movie guy, came with me, and there was some scene with, like, Evan talking to his kids. They're establishing some sort of plot thing, and then they cut to the next scene, and Adam went, Judd Apatow would have done a joke there before they cut away.
Yeah.
And it's true. The good ones find a way to just infuse the humor and not dismantle the whole whatever else you're trying to do, if it's action or whatever. You see the worst action movies are usually way too funny, and the action is sort of discarded. But so I say make it a comedy with action. It doesn't even need to be action. Just make it a comedy with the supernatural, and I'm good. Because Aykroyd's tuned into that.
Would you say that's what Afterlife in this new one is? Would you say that fits into that mold?
Yeah, boy, Afterlife's just not as funny as Ghostbusters.
No,
I mean,
really
Afterlife,
good,
to me, Afterlife is a great movie.
Yeah.
I would not call it a comedy at all.
I would not either. Nope.
Now, there's a couple of funny moments.
Yeah.
But it's not funny.
No, it's more action.
It's not a comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Paul Rudd has a few, but I couldn't. I mean, honestly, I only saw it once. But I mean, I guess I can. I can't name it. I can't name those funny moments.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting. Partially too, I asked that because the idea of ghost hunters, ghost police, almost, right? I don't know. It's kind of cool. I mean, what we're seeing in this new trailer and stuff, I mean, everything's kind of cool with it, right? Like, there's something interesting there. I don't know.
Yeah, just don't get out of scenes without saying something funny.
Yeah.
Like, look at the library scene from the first movie. I mean, every line is funny.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I mean, they can't, they're accomplishing things. They're talking to the librarian,
Right?
and they're getting information, and they go down to find the ghost. But all that is just littered with jokes.
Yeah. Right.
And that's perhaps just Aykroyd and Ramis in their heyday, and maybe we don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
To that extent.
I mean, yeah. When you get, what is it? Shh. Do you smell something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a dick fur.
Let me fix that. I don't know why.
I'm not even going to go there.
No.
Try that.
Still Aykroyd.
Near the end.
Here's something new I found out I wasn't aware of. Vigo's voice was Max von Sydow.
What?
Yeah. Took one day, came in and recorded it. Although Wilhelm von Homborg played Vigo physically.
Right.
Did
the
you
Steward
read
of Gondor.
Did you read? Did you read it? Steward Gondor. That's his call. That's his name. Steward Gondor. Did you? Vigo didn't realize his voice was dubbed until the premiere, and then he stormed out.
Oh.
And here's an interesting point. His name, Wilhelm von Homborg, he changed it from Norbert Group. Is that a win? Norbert Group. No, I'd rather be Wilhelm von Homborg.
I feel like that's a sideways choice.
I disagree. If you're Nordic, you're like, oh, no, I'm Wilhelm all the way.
Bet your ass.
Wilhelm. I care. I've got an axe on me at all times. It's your job to figure out where and which one it is.
I mean,
and he was in Die Hard.
You carry your axe.
Yeah, I wasn't aware he was in Die Hard.
Wait, who was he in Die Hard?
They said the character's name was like Bill or something, so he's like a henchman in the gang. But
Wilhelm.
Yeah, but if you see any photos of this guy, it looks like he's been punched in the face 100 times. And sure enough, he was a 30-11 boxer. Good record. Yep. Good record.
Which is why he's the father of Sean Bean.
Is he really?
The Steward of Gondor.
Oh, Jesus. Again, you're going to have to give me the context because I don't know these movies.
If you not seen?
I've seen them.
Come on.
Who remembers them?
Oh, the 3 Lord of the Rings movies are fantastic.
I don't have another 12 hours to revisit. But anyway, the guy
But
died.
we do. Let's start right now.
Anyway,
We're going to do countdown to 6. We're going to do all of the Lord of the Rings movies. When we finish, we're going to come back and jump into this moment.
the longest episode. Anyway, the guy died homeless. There you go.
Wilhelm, I mean,
We're supposed
Norbert.
to end on the joke. End on the joke.
But I think people in the critical realm kind of agree with us that it's about half good, so they gave it about a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's only at 55.
The audience is 61. Now, normally, like for Indiana Jones, I remember
for the audience.
I remember when Indiana Jones was getting such bad reviews, Dial of Destiny, over in Cannes with the French. But then by the time it came out and everybody saw it, that jumped up to like 75. So it's a big disparity. Discrepancy? Or a transparency. It's a transparency machine, and it says that there's a difference in there, but this difference is not that much, only 6%.
55.
Wow.
That is so interesting. I don't know. Okay, so for me, like, is this a perfect film? No. And there's so much that it has working for it, but so many, challenges to it.
Right.
But there's an element of I'm returning to my friends. Like, this is just, it's so great to watch them banter. It's so great to watch them screw around. It's so, so many elements. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. Once again, remember, I have not seen this film in a long time. I was seeing this film anew outside of the music where I went, oh, yeah, that's right. This song is in it. This is banging, But just being with my friends again, seeing them screw around, mess around on stage, doing the New York accent, the do-re, Egon, come on. That's these guys. Yes, give me more of that. So it's like it's hard for me. Like, is it perfect? No, but it's a 55. I would give it. It should be much higher than that. It should be much higher than a 55. It should be higher than a 61. It should be in the 70s. It should at least be in the 70s.
Okay.
I think my concern with these with sequels more and more is that it just feels like a rehash of the same story.
Oh, definitely.
And
certainly early on, absolutely.
Yeah,
every single one.
And even with this new trailer, as excited as I was about it, if I stepped back for a second with it, I went, this feels like the same overarching story. Now we've got Walter Peck back. Yeah. Now we've got, you know what I mean? He's questioning the Ghostbusters again. And they're getting the same accusation that they got in Ghostbusters 2, which is it's all smoke and mirrors. It's not, none of it's real and all that. Yeah. No witnesses. And I was like, oh, wow, we're really revisiting this accusation and storyline. And I don't know. I mean, I have slight mixed feelings about that, but I have a feeling they're going to handle it well. So
the no witnesses thing always drove me nuts, though. Did no one see the giant marshmallow man?
Right, exactly. You can't tell me. He had a giant smile. He's stepping on things. Even when he exploded, people were covered in stuff. Was that imaginary?
Well, and isn't Walter Peck like literally? Doesn't the marshmallow stuff like get poured on him?
Doused in it.
Yeah. So. What?
Well, he's got an agenda regardless because he was dissed.
Yes.
Right.
Venkman dissed him.
Right.
And now he's mad.
Not only did the actor suffer from being called dickless the rest of his life, so did Walter Peck. So there you go.
Got a favorite line? This is the first time when they used the word proton pack.
Is it really?
It was not used in the first film.
Huh.
Yeah. About halfway through, Murray says it at one point. Refers to their device
so interesting
as a proton pack.
Also, it was interesting in this, there are 2 references to the weight of the proton packs in this, after knowing, after we did the last one when you brought that they actually weighed 30 pounds. Like Rick Moranis mentions it and Bill Murray, and I guarantee you that was not a scripted line when he puts it back on. Forgot how heavy these things are. I was like, nah, we're seeing the actor right now. We're not seeing the character.
Right. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But it grossed about $65 million less than its predecessor. But twice the international gross, so who the hell knows?
Wait, but how long was it actually in the theater?
Well, that's
because
the thing.
It got bumped out, right?
Because those big movies were right behind it.
Yeah. So, I mean, how can you compare? Really?
Yeah.
It didn't have the opportunity.
Right.
Right? If those other movies weren't there, maybe the same?
I don't know. 84 was a pretty great year.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If those other movies weren't there, then it would have stayed in the theater longer.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I don't feel like the competition was any less in 1989. I will say it's interesting when we get, because once again, I'm seeing this anew, this takes place holiday season. So it's like we've got a July movie that takes place, like it seems to me this should have been a November release, right? Because it takes place in November. Takes place in November, December, just like the first one.
Right.
So it's like, oh, so released in July. Kind of fascinating in that regard.
Well, this one, the Frozen Empire, will be released in March, although it should have come out in December when things were more frozen, but we had a strike and that delayed things.
Right, but does Frozen Empire take place in the holiday season?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, I think it takes place in summer. Like the trailer, the teaser trailer.
Yeah, they're at the beach.
All the kids on the beach.
That's right. They're at the beach in New York. So yeah, definitely during the summer.
Yeah, that would be the smarter move.
Yeah.
It's just cold. There's no ghosts. It's just cold. It's just cold. Wait, it's July. Hang on, there might be ghosts. But then we have to wait. Murray didn't want anything to do with the sequels after that, and we wait over 2 decades for the franchise to return with Ghostbusters. Paul Feig directed Answer the Call, as they call it, which probably should have been the full title here in the States too.
I'm so excited about seeing that because I did not see it, so I'm excited about seeing it.
I'm excited to see Answer the Call. One, because I've never seen it. Two, there's a thing that sometimes when they remake something that all the people, the haters come out and they're much louder than the people who say that I like something. And now that we can step away from it and look back a couple years, with better vision, if you will. It's not giant and shiny in front of you. It's like, what was this actually like? I'm looking forward to it for that reason. Because this entire time, I've been looking over at your shoulder. We got the poster over here for Answer the Call. And I'll tell you what, if I'm anyone connected to the studio and I see this mock-up, I say 150% I give you all the money that you need. Because those 4 ladies are all very, very funny.
Right.
And how could this not be fantastic?
I can't wait to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm really looking forward. I'm sad I didn't see it in the theater.
Right.
I wish I had. By the way, we've talked about it on this before, but Rick Moranis actually brought it up in one of his interviews, sort of. When they were doing the sequel, he was like, I don't know, should we be doing this as just like a television series? Like, should this be a series? And it got me thinking. I was like, yeah, I mean, honestly, the Ghostbusters concept, it would be ripe for a television kind of series.
Absolutely.
Not just a cartoon, but like a regular. I was like, that's a great idea.
Like starring David Hasselhoff, right?
Yeah.
Takes place at night, but like maybe he's a lifeguard, but at night he goes out and he researches ghosts.
Well, what show is he talking about, Sean?
Baywatch Nights. I was on an episode of that. Check it out. It's called The Strike.
He's shirtless in it. You should check it out.
So we don't get Bill.
The only way I got to actually be on a Baywatch show is I played an alien.
So it takes Bill Murray himself 32 years to show up in a Ghostbuster movie again, that being the aforementioned Afterlife.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, and I will make sure I do a little research between now and Answer the Call. He did show up for the video game.
That's true.
To have that, and I'll tell you, it's like I remember playing the game when it came out, and I found it. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted something more like the movies. I guess I probably just wanted another movie, like so many other people just wanted another movie. But to have all those voices come back, like I'm excited to even revisit that.
I'll tell you too. I would have liked to have seen them have to travel. Like Indiana Jones has to go to places and stuff. I would have liked to have seen. They do a lot of like, we found this in this book or whatever. Like, it would have been interesting if they would have had to like, well, we've got to go find this thing to get the information in order to come back to do the, you know what I mean? Like,
first we go to a map room, then we do this. There was actually...
we could get a Bobby Brown song. It follows the little red line like in Indiana Jones. And I was in the plane. You have to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. He describes everything that's happening.
I love that.
That's brilliant.
Now I want Bobby Brown to do voiceover songs for all of the trailers that we see, just telling us what's going on.
I want him to do every movie, right? Like even just like, Anatomy of a Fall. He fell off a building, and nobody knows who done it.
There actually was. I haven't researched this. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. A friend of mine who's a writer in Hollywood.
I think we're just going to accept that as everything for everything you say going forward.
I did research on the music. Said for a while, Dan Aykroyd was trying to make a third one. And there was a written script.
Oh.
And the summary of this is out there. And it was essentially that ghosts were taking over all over the world because hell was full. That's the jumping off point.
Huh.
Of just like, Hell's full. It has too many ghosts in it, and that's why they're now Satan's basically releasing them. So they would actually have to fight Satan.
Wow.
Kind of an interesting
I
concept.
mean, go big or go home.
Yeah, I mean that's one. As I recall,
wow.
they had to go to hell in order to find, which once again, go big or go home.
Yeah,
so that's a
wow.
concept, too.
That's
That
interesting.
did not end up happening.
Man,
That did not end up happening. No.
No.
But I'd love to play the game again sometime.
Yeah,
You got to get an Xbox.
yeah. It's I think only available on Xbox 360, which is from quite some time ago.
And that's all I got. Any other thoughts about the movie?
I mean, I do appreciate what you said about us revisiting our friends.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think there's a lot of 80s movies that we got to fall in love with these characters.
Yeah.
And we were so excited to see the sequels, and at the time it was just maybe we're kids and we're excited to see these sequels, but really it's the familiarity. It is seeing these friends again, and it was exciting. Yeah. And honestly, it's exciting in the new trailer when Bill Murray comes in and all that stuff. Like, it's great. I really I love Paul Rudd. I think he's awesome, and I think he's such a great he's an important person to have in this cast. He creates he's great at creating the foundation of funny and believability.
Right.
And that's it.
What would you rate it? Okay, we said it was 55. You said on Rotten Tomatoes.
General, critic consensus.
Where do you think it
If
should
you
be?
believe dead vegetables.
Right, exactly. Where do you think it should land?
out of 10 or what?
Out of 100%.
Out of 100%.
It's at 55%. I'm gonna put it in 70s. I'm gonna give it like a 77, 78.
See, I think when in doubt, slime is not as funny as jokes.
Okay.
And so
While more slime was in this, there was less funny slime in this.
Right.
Yeah.
There was less funny. So I don't know, maybe 60. I
Wow,
vote
really?
low.
I would have thought you would have put it higher.
Me too.
I'm really surprised.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, 75.
So, okay. All right. There you go.
I went low.
Land right there in the 3.
Yeah.
All right. But all three of us, once again, place it higher than where it's listed on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I want to bring up 2 other quick points. Sigourney Weaver, absolutely beautiful, attractive, and sexy in this film.
Yes,
and
they
more
put
so,
her-
I think, even than in the first one.
Correct.
I don't know. There's something about her performance. She's a little flirty with him and stuff. And I think she's absolutely beautiful in this. I loved that. I had another point and I forgot it. Damn it. Anyway, I had to bring in the Sigourney Weaver thing.
They put her in a towel, fresh out of the shower.
I will say she is in the towel for an inordinate, a long time.
A long time.
Abominable. Abdominal.
You are correct. Also, it was interesting because then you also see that edge of Annie Potts' character when she's just totally forward with Rick Moranis. I was like, oh my gosh. And the 2 scenes are back to back.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes. Yeah.
It was great. No, there's so much here that I loved.
Your homework is to go out on the internet and watch the Oprah Winfrey Show when the cast appeared, just to see Chris Farley in the audience before he's Chris Farley.
What?
Super psyched that he was there watching the guys.
Does he ask a question? Does she walk up to him with the microphone?
But she's just saying, ladies and gentlemen, something but the cast, and there's a huge applause from the audience, and Farley's like, he's doing this he's super full Farley. That's kind of a famous
My
little clip.
parents were eaten by a bear.
I remembered this the scene I wanted to talk about real quick.
Go ahead.
Which is when Sigourney Weaver's character goes to Egon. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's doing the tests on the emotional, which by the way is nice thematically because that
100%
loops right into our storyline, right? And so he's doing, but every little subtle thing along the way, and he's listening to her, and there's, that scene. I think that scene has funny moments. I think that scene needed to be a little bit clippier, to be honest, but it's really, really funny, and it's well done. And then, of course, it has the button at the very end with, let's see what happens when we take the puppy away.
Yeah.
Which I think is
now it's
great.
time to turn to the positive side. They give the child a puppy.
So your alien had a room at the Holiday Inn Paramus. Might be my favorite line in the movie. From
Yes,
Venkman's
exactly.
talk show at the top. The whole talk show at the top is actually very funny.
The whole talk show was fantastic.
Hairless cats. Weird.
Yeah.
Until next time, this is Peter Venkman saying,
Yes.
all right, so that's Ghostbusters 2.
That scared me. That genuinely scared me.
Oh, I have to say this.
Yes.
We'll put it in somewhere.
Go ahead.
The first time, what's the ghost? What's the
Slimer?
No,
Vigo?
Vigo. Yeah. The first time Vigo startles, what's his name?
Peter McNichol.
That's the guy. The first time that happened.
Did you see the
In
movie?
Ghostbusters 2?
In what's it called? Yeah. Anyway, when Vigo startles, what's his name?
Peter McNichol.
Exactly.
Janusz.
That guy.
Janusz.
Janusz. That scared the crap out of me. That's it. That's all.
It's a great story.
That was a story.
No. I just want to say it literally startled
Okay,
me.
wait.
Like
okay,
it literally
good. I thought you
scared
say
me.
literally scared the crap out of you. Which- Well, there you go. You were going to put that in somewhere, right? So I don't think anything.
I don't know. I thought somebody might have some wonderful banter about it, but apparently not. Well, only because
No.
that was to me a real, actual scary moment.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've talked about how it's kind of a horror film, kind of a comedy,
Gotcha.
kind of an adventure. It's a lot of these things. So to me, that was a scary moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking for a hug, guys.
Without enough joke. All right, that's enough show. My name is Paul Preston from themovieguys.net. Again, check out themovieguys.net for the LA Film Locations Tour. And again, interviews with Frank Chindamo, the script PA from the original Ghostbusters, and William Bryan, who was inside the Stay Puft suit, Robin Shelby, who is our Slimer, Ray Parker Jr. There's a lot going on with Ghostbusters over at themovieguys.net. Ray Parker sat right where I'm sitting right now. And we chatted
incredible.
him up about the movies. So
It's awesome. Sean Blodgett, Creative Motion Entertainment. We're doing some really exciting stuff down in Irvine. We've got this little OC Micro studio. I've partnered with a company called Oculu, which, by the way, if you're looking for a place to host your videos other than YouTube, where, by the way, sometimes you host your videos there and, of course, it plays an ad before your video, which is very annoying. But Oculu is a great place to do that. My partner with that, we're having a great time building up our clientele. And if you're looking for a place to shoot web videos, shorts, commercials, promotional stuff, stuff for Instagram, stuff for social media, whatever, it's a great place to come. So, shoot me an email, Sean@creativemotionentertainment.com, or visit the website, all that stuff. And also ocmicrostudio.com. You can check that out, get some info there, and do your booking.
And Justin is also here.
Right.
All right, folks. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, hey, make sure you watch Lord of the Rings. And when you do, check out the Steward of Gondor, okay? Because I'm telling you, the guy who plays the father of Sean Bean looks so much like Vigo. I mean, it's insane. That's all.
Thank you again for watching or for listening. However you enjoy our show, we appreciate it. And come back again for the next episode where we cover 2016's Ghostbusters. In the meantime, Paul, Justin, and Sean saying...